I can't even try to be respectable, 'cause I'm skeptical.
Hey guys and gals and anyone else who's listening, welcome back to another episode of What's So Funny. Tonight we are going to be talking to Ari Shaffir. Ari was last on the program 4 years ago, back when he was an LA comic. Now he's a New York comic, and he was in town headlining the Comedy Mix during the JFL Northwest Comedy Fest. And I sat down and talked to Ari one morning in his hotel room. It was a good talk. Boy, we covered a lot of ground. Ari is opinionated, and I always like that in a guest and in a human being, whether you agree with him or not. What did we talk about? Well, geez, let me think. We talked about his former friend Carlos Mencia. We talked about language and words and the offense they cause, and should they? Well, listen to what Ari says. We talked about his public feud with Howard Stern. Oh, that's a doozy. We started talking immediately, even before I turned on the recorder. And we were talking politics, and I didn't think he wanted to talk about politics, so I didn't start the recording. And then I started it. So we're kind of right in the middle of a conversation. But you'll pick up. I have faith in you. You're bright people, guys and gals that you are, and others. Okay, here's my conversation with Ari Shaffir.
Yeah.
No, I thought you didn't want to talk about politics.
I don't care.
So I kept it up.
I don't really know about it.
Yeah, so Red Fox was the most influential comic in the 50s because he was the first guy to do a comedy album. And
Really? I used to love his albums.
And they just took off, and then everybody started doing comedy albums. And I'm going, okay, but if it wasn't him, it would have been somebody else.
Yeah, the technology existed.
It's kind of like what you were saying about.
Yeah, it wasn't like he invented the technology and was like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been just somebody.
Yeah. He happened to have struck a nerve. Maybe if the first guy failed, then somebody else would have tried it.
Yeah.
A little later.
Also, it's usually somebody coming, like even Louis with those direct downloads.
Yeah.
It's like that was a great idea, and he had the money and to be able to build an infrastructure to do it, you know, whereas a lot of other people couldn't. But like at some point, somebody would have realized we can just do this direct download stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he got on first. By now, it would have been done.
Although I think, he brought the price down.
He did bring the price down. I
And-
wish he would have kept it at 10.
Do you?
Yeah,
'Cause
because
now-
like albums were 10.
Yeah, I know. That's just
So
it.
we could have all gotten 10 for specials if he just. and
But
now
would
it's
you
like,
have had that many people taking the chance on somebody
for
you
sure
don't
less,
really know?
For sure less.
Yeah.
For sure less. But now people are like, why are you selling your album for 8 when Louis sells his special with audio and video for 5? And, you're like,
And it's Louis C.K.
yeah, exactly. And you're like, well, because iTunes takes 30%.
Is that what you're selling your album for?
I don't even remember what I'm selling my album for.
Yeah.
I put it there once. I think one's 5, one's 8, one's 10. Just randomly. I'm like, I'm going to try this time.
Yeah. Hey, Ari Shaffir, you're the first act I saw at the Comedy Fest this year.
Oh, nice.
You didn't know you were part of the Comedy Fest.
I
did
found
you?
out in the last few weeks, I guess.
Yeah, that's how it works. Let's see who's coming to town.
They co-opted. I don't mind. I like Brandy, who runs the fest.
Yeah.
You know? And I told her like I'd be part of it, but then I was like, oh, I'm booked, and she was like, it's the same fucking weekend. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I didn't know, and she's like, but then when they absorbed it, it's like that's fine.
Yeah, because the festival always has shows at the Comedy Mix where
They do?
you're host.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
or
I don't
you're
mind supporting it,
headlining. Yeah,
and probably it helps get people there.
I would have loved to have seen your concept show here.
This is not happening.
This is not happening.
Yeah.
That's the name of the show.
Oh, at
in
the
case anyone didn't-
festival.
At the festival.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I was here next week, I would have done it.
Yeah.
For sure. When I'm at a festival like this with good enough people, I mean, Metzger and Okerson are here. I don't know who else. I have no idea who
Nick
else.
Thune.
Nick Thune's done it before.
Bert Kreischer.
Oh yeah, we for sure would have done it then.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been
a
nice.
lot of people. Trevor Noah.
Okay, I've been trying to get him on.
Have you?
He's hard now.
Yeah.
I was
He's
close
here
a couple
tonight.
times.
He's
Oh,
here
really?
tonight. I'm going to the show.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I tried a couple times. I was close to getting him on like a live show, and then once you got a daily show, it's like, yeah, you're too busy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Too much work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're part of it. Yeah, it would have been good. Now explain the concept of that show.
It's comics telling stories. We pick a topic. You know, everybody's
Such
got a
as?
story. We've picked topics like hookers, fights, family, friends, road trips, just something to like zone everybody in. Because a lot of times comics can't think of stories.
If you just say, think of a story.
Yeah, do you have any good stories? Like, not really. But they're like, do you have any psychedelic drug stories? Like,
Oh,
very
yeah.
specific. And they go, yeah, oh my God, yes. One time I was doing mushrooms. I was, burying
Right.
my head in the sand. And yeah, it just helps them like do that.
Yeah. So there's a true story from their lives. And once you come up with a topic, now not everybody you ask is going to have a story related to that topic.
Sure.
So you got to put it out there.
Yeah, put it out there. Ideally, they'll tell me if they don't have a story. They'll tell me like my friend Rick Ingram had one of those, or Mark Maron. Ingram for psychedelic drugs. He goes, I don't know, I've done them a couple times, but nothing crazy has happened. It's been fun, but so it's like, cool, I'll get you on another one. When we do family, I'll get you on that one. Mark Maron, we did one with hookers, and he was like, nah, I'm not really a hooker guy. I've never been a hooker guy. It's like, okay, no problem. But when then I have one about heartbreak, I just call him and say, are you available? Because I know he has, 50 stories.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, yeah, that's the best when a comic tells me like, I don't really have anything for that. I'm like, awesome, I'll get you on. The worst when they go, let me see if I can figure it out, and then not figure it out.
Oh, and they commit to it, and then they
or
don't
they tell
come
a
up
story
with
about something else, or tell a shitty story, or just do material. That's the worst thing when they just do material.
Comedy's moving away from that, it seems.
Seems like
a lot of these. Well, with the concept shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets a little boring when it's the same thing every time, but that's still the base of it.
Yeah.
80% of comedy is still like just get up and tell some jokes about whatever, which also can include like Big J's show, the crowd work show. It can include that. It can include a story. It can include. There's probably a one-liner show coming. You got to think. With all these concept shows, there's got to be like just tell, no jokes over, 20 seconds. Probably actually, someone should do that.
Someone should do that.
Or someone like that should like head up that thing.
Yeah, but how many comics could do that?
Yeah, that's a lot more work.
Yeah,
that's a lot more. Ideally, these are like stories you've already been telling at parties.
Right? Not so much that you've worked into your act.
Yeah, and then maybe once you get it for like TV or the stage, you're like, all right, throw a couple more like punchlines in there or metaphors to to help like make it funnier a little bit, But it's like, I was stuck on an island. Kind of look like, that guy on Gilligan's. I don't know. Like we were both so hungry, we looked at each other like in the cartoons, and I imagined him with a chicken bone, and he imagined me as a hot dog. That didn't actually happen in the story, but like it just helps illustrate it better.
Add some color to it.
Yeah, so comics are good at that. It just makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
But it did not happen either. It wasn't like a detail that's not true. It's just like a alliteration.
Yeah, people know.
Yeah,
Wait a second, that didn't happen.
Wait a minute, you can't really turn into a chicken bone.
But is this a regular show? How often does it run?
We started doing it about once a month in 2000. In 2000, actually. This is 6 years now.
This is in L.A.
In L.A.,
But you've moved.
We've moved a few times. I've moved since then, yeah.
Yeah, you've moved to New York.
Yeah, I was just telling my friend who booked the improv side room. He was just an assistant at the improv, and they gave him this side room, this 40-seat side room to like empowerment. They're like, fine, if you want to book people for that, go ahead. No liquor, so it was just a $5 cover. Now they have a liquor license, but...
Thanks, Louis.
Yeah.
$5 cover.
Oh, that was before that, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, we just did a mushroom show. We were telling mushroom stories at a party, and I was like, "Can I do a show?" And he was like, "Yeah, okay." I didn't have any drawer or anything then.
Yeah.
So it was great. And then we're like, "Let's do one with sex stories." And we just didn't know. We just kept doing it about once a month. It was great. And then after about 7-8 months, I kind of ran out of stories that I knew I want to tell this story, And then I had to start thinking of them. So I start calling my high school friends and like.
But real stories.
Yeah, real stories. I just have to remember them.
You have to remember them, not
and also,
to make them up.
Right, not make them up, but then learn how to tell them too. Because it's like there's extra details that I forget about. So like I say, I'll start calling my family or my friends, and even if I have a story in mind, like remember when I threw that basketball at that girl's face, and he goes, and he'll remember the girl's name. I'm like, oh yeah.
That's a little detail.
Yeah, little
comedy's
details.
in the details.
Or he'll be like, remember the reason you were so mad at her is because she wouldn't let you like go to the other camp to lose your virginity. And I was like, oh yeah, and like that's coming into the story. Like that's why.
Is this a real story?
Yeah. I threw a basketball in this girl's face
because
we were in Israel, and I wanted to go. My high school goes to Israel for the last semester of senior year. It's such a waste. I don't know how it is here, but like everyone's already pretty much gotten into a college, so there's no reason to study that last half senior year.
Right.
You're already accepted somewhere, so as long as you don't fail, and even if you do, just take summer school, but you're still going to that college, that university. So it's just a waste. So my high school was like, let's all go to Israel. We'll do a double semester of math and English in the first half, and then the second half, just go. So we go, and we spend like 3 weeks in Jerusalem, and then we spend like a month on a kibbutz, but it was 3 different kibbutzes, so we all got split up. So I was going to lose my virginity to this girl, Lissa.
Like this was the plan.
Yeah. I mean,
Did she know it?
I think we both kind of knew it, but she just broke up with her boyfriend. So all her friends were like, "Give her time, don't push it yet." But I pushed it. I told her I loved her, and it was like
bad move.
Yeah, but I mean, I was really in love with her. It was one of those high school crushes, and I was like,
"Have you seen her since?"
Not for a while, but yeah, I saw her since after that. Yeah, a couple times.
Is it still there?
She's crazy. Nah, no. Nah. I think she started hooking up with an ex-student or something. Or she got married to one. She was nuts. She was the only like girl in my high school who was not a virgin, or one of the only like 3.
Oh, she wasn't at the time, but you were going to lose
yeah.
your virginity to her.
I know she fucked, and I
It would be a charity case for her.
No, we really liked each other.
Okay.
We would like, you're best friends with a girl, and you develop those feelings,
Yeah.
and you don't know what to do because you spend all your time with her. So yeah, and I bought condoms at home in America, thinking I'm going to use them on Lissa. Anyway, then we didn't talk for a while. After I told her I loved her, I was like, well, then fuck you. I didn't know how to handle it right, which was like, give me time. But then I worked it out. So then I was going to go visit her kibbutz, and I wanted to leave for a night or two to go visit the other one, which normally they'd have, but I was a pretty bad kibbutznik. I would always get out of work, and I'd be in trouble a lot. So the counselor lady who was in charge of us, she goes, no, you can't. I'm not giving you that leave. I got so mad. And she told me when I was playing basketball that we had these 9-foot rims I was trying to dunk on. Sorry, 3-meter rims. I was trying to
9 foot. 9 foot.
That's one thing you guys got. And then, she told me I couldn't go. I was so mad. And I went up to dunk, and I saw her walking away, and I was going from the baseline. Instead of dunking, I just said, fuck it. And I don't know why I thought this would be okay. I just threw it over the rim, like right at her, as if I missed the dunk, quote unquote.
Is it plausible deniability?
Yeah, plausible deniability. It's all you need. You could hear the rim, and then she turned around when the ball was like in the air, like curving at her.
Boom.
Yeah, right in the face.
Right in the kisser.
Yeah, and she slapped me across the face later. It was like a prison thing.
And
she didn't do it right
you
away.
apologized.
Oh, I don't think I did.
Well, then your plausible deniability kind of goes out the window. You have to go, oh, my God, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, I was 18. I wasn't
that.
the smartest kid then.
So you threw it at the
So
counselor.
he was like, yeah, her name was Orit. And I was like, oh, yeah, or not. I forget now. Or not, or whatever it was. And he told me about it. Remember, that's what he said. He goes, remember she slapped you in the face?
Who said?
My friend Avi Lerner.
Yeah.
Remember she slapped you in the face the next day? And I was like, yes, that's right. So then I tried to tie it all in, and then it's like you get a story out of it. You describe her a certain way.
So you're on all the shows?
I'm on all the live shows. Yeah. So I'll host. I'll tell a story up front.
What are the non-live shows?
The recorded shows that we do for TV or the internet.
Okay, yeah. Because
I mean, the ones we've been doing for 6 years, those just started as a live show in front of 40 people.
Yeah.
So Mark Maron did the first one. Joey Diaz, Steve Agee, Dylan Brody, and I think he's Canadian actually, and this guy Dan Madonia, and that was all psychedelic stories.
Who's Canadian?
Dylan Brody.
Oh,
maybe not. I don't know. But
so yeah,
we did it live for like years, once a month, and then we start recording them.
Yeah.
So for our live shows, I tell a story, I say hi, tell a couple jokes, then tell a story, then bring them the next comic, and riff off what they did. Maybe fuck around with them. Like, stop, hold on, you got to come back up. Hold on, what happened to that girl now? Like, where is she now?
Great.
Yeah, just fun.
Sometimes you're sitting in the audience and you have these questions, and the performer doesn't even think about it.
Oh yeah, I like telling those questions. So what I'll do when I'm telling a story, when I'm working it out, I'll ask the audience after I'm done. I'm like, especially early on when a story goes nowhere. So like, if I have these party stories, they go somewhere. They're great. I've already told them 50 times. But new ones, I'm like, So I tell them on stage once, and as soon as I'm done, I'm like, well, that sucked. That wasn't funny or interesting. So I need to add more details or figure out what else is part of the story. Because you can combine something with something 5 years earlier, Be like, I was in trouble. Now, 5 years ago, I also got in trouble in high school, so I was a little bit worried, and you tell a side story about that. They're not actually connected, but you can connect whatever you want to a story. This hotel room.
It gives it depth.
Yeah, I could do it now, and also maybe a girl I've hooked up with here like 3 years ago. Like it all can tie in if you wanted to.
Right.
Or not.
So the TV shows, you're not on all of them, but it's your baby.
Yeah, it's my baby. So I'll host. I'll say like, hey, this is the concept of the show. Please welcome this comic. So I'm on 3 out of the 8 of them this year. And then I tell just a digital-only story. Sometimes they tell me, like, we can't show what you're going to do on TV. I had to get special dispensation this year for one of them that was about feeding cum to a dog. And they were like, no way. And I was like, can we ask them? I think we can get this one by. But the last year I had one about anal sex, and they were like, no way, you're not showing that on TV. So
really?
Like,
what TV are we talking about?
Comedy Central America.
Oh,
I wish they would show it here. The Comedy Network won't show it here.
Comedy Network.
So they had to pull down all the videos off YouTube because they like might sell it to Comedy Network or M3 or whatever it is, whatever your network is here, Much 3.
I have no idea.
But it's like until they sell it here, then I can't show them on YouTube. All the stuff that was up on YouTube, now they're all down, and all these Canadian fans are like, how come we can't see it? I'm like, it's so fucking frustrating. I don't know.
Yeah, because the Comedy Network should, since they're taking over from the Comedy Central in the States, they should have everything, whether it's on TV or not, it should be on their website.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they don't, so it's fucking Canadian
well,
fans
we don't like dogs eating cum.
Cum either?
No.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Although, as you say, it's for the protein, it's not sexual.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I just tell one, or we'll tell one just digitally, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So when we tape them I'll do one every show we do. I'll do a story, but we cut them up to only 3 people per episode. And we tape them, we do 5, and then we split them up. So on the taping ones, we don't all do the same topic, but we put them into topics later. It's too hard to organize people. So like if you had one about, I don't know, cancer, and someone else did one, but he couldn't do the same day as you, like we'll do cancer as a topic, but we'll just match them up later.
Oh, I see.
But for a live show, we would always just do cancer stories.
Same. I don't like cancer stories.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be. The hooker ones that was a weird one. Eddie Pepitone did that one. He kept like stopping in the middle, go, weird topic, Ari, weird topic, because the crowd kept going like, it's like borderline victimization. So it's just like, I don't know.
Is it more fun than your regular stand-up?
Sometimes. I mean, when I have to prepare a story, I used to have to get an office and sit there and like think of stuff and then like think of details and how to write it. And like, I wouldn't really do that with my regular stand-up anymore.
Because you can really only use it on that show one time.
Not true.
No?
No, Moshe said this first. And he was like, he told a story for the show. He liked it. He was like, that went well. And then he started doing it on stage. And he goes, it's become my closer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've had stories in my act. People have stories in their act.
Sure.
So some of it's like similar. As long as you don't go into like your thoughts about a subject, as long as it's just like plot driven instead of, bit driven.
Mm-hmm.
You could do 8 bits about cancer, but that's not a story about cancer, about you going to the doctor and, but yeah, you can pull it in. In fact, that's one of my favorite things when comics said like, I did that story for your show and now it's working on stage. I keep tweaking it. Now it's like killing, Yeah. So you absolutely can use it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you used some in yours?
For sure. And when I go on the road before I tape these things, you'll see me do just like 5 stories. It's pretty much my hour where I'm just getting ready for it. I'm like, I want to run this in front of crowds. So I'll just do them over and over again. And crowds are like, yeah, it's fine. We laughed. Who cares?
Just a quick interruption to remind you that you're listening to CFRO 100.5 FM, Vancouver's cooperative radio station. I'm Guy McPherson. The show is What's So Funny? And the guest is Ari Shaffir. I saw you last night. Great show.
Yeah,
loved
thanks.
it. It was extendo version.
It was pretty long. I'm trying to
long
figure out my new hour, so I was trying to do everything and then weed stuff out.
It was what, an hour and a half almost?
Something like that, yeah. Only because it's Thursday.
Right.
I can't really do that.
It's a good tip for fans. Come out on the Thursday.
On the one-night shows, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But afterwards, when people come up to you, I would imagine, as a comic, people come up to you and say, hey, great show, whether it sucked or not.
Oh, yeah.
So do you just feel like, how do I ever know if it's a great show?
You know yourself.
You know yourself, so it doesn't matter what people say.
Yeah,
but
so it's almost annoying when people say...
I'm being sincere when I said it was a great show last night.
Thanks. No, I had a good time last night.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Sometimes when it's not good and you know it, and people are like, hey, that was really funny. I used to be like, well, not really. That one joke didn't go over. And then I realized they don't want to hear that. They don't have anything to compare it to.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, it was a B+. That was great. I mean, somebody watched Full House. A lot of people watched that as every week, and you can't convince them it wasn't funny. Even though it wasn't. Even though that's cool, dude, is not a funny punchline. That's just like a cute kid. It's so dumb. God, I hate that show. But you just go, okay, thanks, and move on.
Right.
Instead of correcting them.
I mean, there were no lulls, even though it was almost an hour and a half. I didn't feel, sometimes in a really long show, there's
Like dead
kind
spots.
of a lull.
Yeah.
Not necessarily dead. It could still be interesting. But just, you go, okay. Everybody's kind of lost them for a minute.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently. I used to get comics telling me, I remember Mencia before we found out more about him, but he used to come in and we would talk. He liked door guys looking up to him. And he would say, hey, we'd have to pace himself. And I heard other comics saying the same thing. Like when you're doing an hour, it's not like 7 minutes where you can just boom, boom, boom. You have to pace yourself, and there's times you got to bring the crowd down on your own so they don't drop off on their own. Like you're the one taking them down, letting them rest. Something serious maybe, and then bringing them back up to laughter. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, I don't think that's true. I think you just go like I felt last night. You could just go straight through.
Yeah.
You can have 30-second lulls of like, all right, guys, hold on. Let me just get serious for a second, and then just go right back to,
Yeah.
But you don't have to do anything extended.
Well, I would
Crowd's
say
there to
that
laugh.
if the crowd is there to laugh, if the comic is intentionally bringing them down,
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Yeah, that's one thing.
That's fine, and I wouldn't even maybe consider that a lull because we're hanging on every word.
Yeah.
And now is not necessarily a joke time. It's when the comic loses the crowd and that lull happens.
Yeah, well, that's what I think Mencia was saying, and those other people have said that you don't want to lose them. If you bring them down, let them rest on your own. If you tell the class, hey, it's nap time to the kindergarten, then they don't fall asleep, in third period. You make them take the nap, and then you wake them up, and they all go play again. Instead of them falling asleep during your ABCs.
Where did he steal that idea from?
He used to be a cool guy. He
No,
used to hang
I'm
out.
kidding. He's coming back, isn't he?
Who?
Mencia?
What do you mean coming back?
Well, I mean, I got the sense that he kind of went in hiding for a while, but now he's performing again, not at the venues.
He never stopped performing.
Never
He's just
stopped.
performing on smaller venues, and people want to be like, see, it's karma. Now he's back in clubs, and I'm like, wait a minute. So he's selling out the clubs that I'm just doing now, and that's karma. He's still making 30 to 50 grand a week. That's not
Right.
He's just not as big as he was, but that ain't karma. Karma is back to where you should have been when you've never written a joke.
Yeah, that's right.
His big admission, I think, now is he goes, I don't do that anymore. So like he admits to it to that extent, but he's never like, I've tried to get him on my podcast to just talk about joke stealing, like from a non-judgmental point of view. Like I just want to know like how you got started in it, like were there certain people you targeted, certain people you would stay away from.
And he must have had a fair bit of his act that wasn't stolen.
That too, like what percentage was. If I get honest with him, I think it'd be really interesting. And I think if he really wants salvation, he would write or make a list of 200 to 400 people that he stole material from, and make a list of them, put it up publicly, apologize for every single instance instead of saying, whatever, I don't do that anymore. Or call these people individually, send them Facebook messages saying,
You
yes,
think there would be upwards of 400 people?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, the amount of stories that came in with that guy of
Wow.
feature acts getting fired halfway through a week because they're like, wait a minute, he did my joke. I was just doing that. He just did it word for word, and then them fired halfway through the week if they say anything. Oh,
Unprecedented, you think?
Pretty unprecedented. I think he was a guy. When people want to talk about Amy Schumer and like they get on me, they get on Rogan, they get on a few other people. Like, how come you're mentioning Mencia but you're not mentioning Schumer? It's so hypocritical. I'm like, I don't know. First of all, it's way different. One, it's harder to judge bits instead of jokes, whether they're stolen. Jokes are so short that it's like, yeah, it's similar, but there's one joke. But like Bill Cosby and Carlos Mencia, that long. I mean, did you see that one?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 4.5 minutes.
Football?
Uh-huh.
Thing? Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's beat for so long. It's like you're getting further and further away from the chance of
You
this
know
just
what?
being
I know.
3 chords in a song in the middle is one thing. 3 chords throughout the entire song is another thing.
It is so weird, though. I mean, the explanation with Schumer was, well, why would she need to?
Oh yeah, that doesn't work. That same thing with
And
Dane and
also,
same thing with Mencia. Why would they need to?
She's taking it from well-known comics. Why
Yeah.
not go to some anonymous comic?
Yeah.
And so you think, well, Bill Cosby at the time was king. I mean, a lot of people loved him.
But he wasn't though.
Well, he was still
No, he wasn't where he
famous.
is now. But that special, this is pre-real internet. So that special that he stole from for Bill Cosby, only hardcore comedy fans had seen that. It wasn't on
of
the internet.
Cosby?
Yeah, it wasn't on the internet. It was a 40-year-old bit. I didn't know it. People are like, can you believe? I'm like, I've never heard that bit before.
Right.
I haven't listened to a lot of Bill
Right,
Cosby.
he
I don't
wasn't
listen to
doing
40-year-old comedy.
He wasn't doing Noah.
7 Dirty Words would have been bigger. I would have recognized
Yeah,
that.
right.
You know, there's certain things that like maybe it's so like iconoclastic. You know, where it's like this is just a big bit that everyone recognized. Then it's like you're fucked. But like that bit, like none of my friends knew
Okay,
it.
fair
You know,
enough.
and then the internet came, and now everything in the world that's ever been created is accessible. So now somebody can be like, let's pull and like. But with Mencia, people warned his writers warned him like that's a Bill Cosby joke. Don't do it. He did that anyway, and then they cut it from the special. But then it came out. The footage came out.
Wait, who warned him?
His writers,
His writers.
the people who helped him write on his show.
Yeah.
They were like, he's like,
Oh,
hey,
but
come
he
look.
didn't have writers for his stand-up.
No, but I'm sure he'd ask for the tips and stuff. But no,
Yeah.
not. But if he
Okay.
did have writers, like just write it all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So with Schumer, it's like one. There's not 2 decades of allegations going on. This is
Right.
all brand new. I've never heard anyone go, "Fucking Schumer stole my bit."
Right.
You know, with Mencia, it was all the time. I mean, so many people were like, I was about to go up. He made sure to do my bit in front of me. One time he went to apologize when this was all coming up. He went over to this guy, Johnny Sanchez, and he parked his motorcycle at a motorcycle Mencia, and he saw Sanchez. And Sanchez was like, oh, fuck, because he made eye contact. So he took his helmet off and walked right over to him. Sanchez was like, I don't want to talk to him, you know? But he's like, Sanchez, did I? Because this is how people compartmentalize. When Schumer says I can pass a lie detector, I believe her. But even if she did steal, I think those people compartmentalize so much that they would pass lie detectors.
Yeah.
But I don't think Schumer was. But he goes over to Sanchez. He goes, Sanchez, did I ever steal anything from you? And Sanchez goes, and he goes, okay, fine. That one thing about the duck, but that's it. And then, so like he came over to him with the intention, like, no, I didn't steal anything. Then he remembers something. And then Sanchez goes, oh, I thought the thing about the parking space. I didn't know the thing about the duck. You stole that
you're
too?
doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's like, and then he had forgotten the parking space one. And it was like, you just don't remember this shit. Those thieves, people say they can't live with it. Everyone can live with it. Murderers live with it. No one's above. You just compartmentalize. You shove that shit in the back of your brain,
Yeah.
and you never think about it.
You rationalize
And then when it comes
some
up,
way?
yeah, you see these people go, like they're faced with the truth that they've been bearing for so long. It's like, you ever just lie about something? Like you were there when you weren't there, that kind of thing.
No.
I was at a game. I was at the World Series that year when I just watched on TV, something like that. And then somebody tells you, like, I was at that game at the bar with you. And you go like, because you've been telling it for 10 years.
Yeah, and then, so I wouldn't consider that a lie. I would consider that a mistake.
Yeah, at some point, you pass a lie detector. You're telling the truth.
You know, it's
You're
like
just wrong.
you with your stories, you don't even remember them, and they happen to you, so you have to ask other people, what happened when I threw that basketball at that woman's face?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's why it's different and all.
But so when it was going down, or before it was going down, you hung around him, you listened to him, you knew him, and then when...
Powerful comic.
Yeah,
his delivery... I mean, we were all talking about this, but his delivery style was just a tank.
Yeah.
But it was just like there was not I don't think there was a single bit that he wrote through and through. I think every bit was contaminated with something stolen.
Wow.
A joke, an aside, a tagline. I think it got to that level.
So he's a powerful performer, and
yeah, he could sell shit.
Yeah.
He would sit in the back of open mic nights. My friend told me this. The old head waitress of the Comedy Store. With him, pad and paper, just writing down jokes, and he viewed it as freeing the jokes from the comics who don't know how to tell it right.
So that would be his rationalization.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that with him on a podcast, you know. But if he would make a list of 400 people that he wronged, put it out publicly, write them all individually, say, I am sorry. I am making amends, so I apologize. You don't ever have to forgive me, but I definitely did it, and I'm sorry. Until you do that, everyone wants forgiveness. You know, wives that cheat go, well, I don't do that anymore. It's like, have you ever said I'm sorry to the guy and say I was wrong for cheating? Have you ever said you're wrong to your friend for stealing his money that time or his baseball card? You just move on. You say, oh, I don't do that anymore. That's not making up for stuff, you know?
Have we seen him since? Have you seen him?
I've seen him, yeah, sure.
And
once the veil was lifted and once you realize, like, oh, this is all true, he would, like, tell me once in the back hallway, like, all right, come here, I want to talk to you. I'm like, no, you come here. And he's like, just come here. I'm like, fuck you, man. I'm not going anywhere for you. Or he'd be like, he would say something, and he'd walk by, and he'd look at me, and I just take my middle finger, I put it right in his face. You can't, once you're wrong like that, you can't do anything. Or I would leave one time, and he'd be coming in on his motorcycle, and the show was over at the Comedy Store, like, late night. There was only, like, this guy does a fake air guitar band on stage. It's on Barris, like, late at night. It's pretty fun. But once that was on, I was leaving. He came in. I was like, show's over, Carlos. There's nothing to steal. And he goes, well, I have a career. And I was like, it's built on lies. And he was like, he just hates it. I don't want to let him off the hook.
And
you still haven't admitted it.
And he won't come on your podcast. Wow.
Yeah. Right. I don't attack my guests. I really just try to learn about stuff. That would be the tester. That would be the tester for me. If I could stay.
Great thing about the Skeptic Tank, your podcast, is you have such a natural curiosity.
Yeah, I just want to know more than anything.
And so are you confirming your already held opinions, or are you learning new things and changing your mind sometimes?
Yeah, I'll change my mind a lot. I did one here about Insight, about that the safe shoot-up place.
With Donovan Patrick Mahoney.
And a guy who helped run it. You know, he worked there for years. So he told me about their side of it, how to get needles and having the problems with the government coming in and trying to shut him down. Because you get Donovan, who was the result of someone who's now clean and got his life on track. That place helped him a lot. And then I think he might have actually got me in touch with this guy. And this guy telling me the details of stuff I would never know. He goes, socks, we need clean socks. These guys fucking get their socks wet and they get this weird disease in their foot. So we don't have enough money for socks for them. Shit like that. I was like, whoa, I didn't know.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it's just like, I just want to learn.
And would that have been something that maybe before you would have been against? Anything like that?
Definitely before I talked to Patrick, to Donovan, excuse me. Patrick Donovan Mahoney, yeah.
Donovan Patrick
There
Mahoney.
You go. I'd be like, what, are they just going to go up and shoot drugs? Maybe I would have done that. But then if somebody explains me the situation, it's like, oh, it's way different than I thought it was. I talked to people from Anonymous.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of my best podcasts.
In person?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we use fake names.
Okay. How did you know them? How did you get in contact with them?
I reached out. There's ways you can find stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
Talked, and then one guy was in charge of sort of like publicity for Anonymous. He was holding a Twitter account, and he goes, I'm not the exact right guy to talk to. I sort of just receive information and put it out. But I could tell you a guy who's like more on the inside, and then I found out tons of shit about Anonymous. They're not a hacker group. They're just us. They're not a group. They're just a collective of people. Whoever wants to join is in.
Wearing the white hat?
That's just what they've chosen is like the V for Vendetta guy. It's their symbol. That whatever that guy's name, you know, with that thin mustache.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see that mask?
Yeah.
So that's just what they use in terms of like saying. But their point is like.
But I mean, like they're the good guys.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
And I believe them. You know, they're the ones who uncovered like Steubenville rape cases and stuff like that. They only hack into stuff to show that things are vulnerable to the government or to real hackers. Mm-hmm. They go in there and they shut down somebody's website, but they don't steal credit card information. That's just hackers. That's not anonymous.
Right.
Yeah, anonymous is just us. Yeah, I learned a lot from that one. And then sometimes I have preconceived notions I try to shake. You know, I
Like,
don't know.
so you would give Carlos Mencia a fair shake?
I think so. I want to have a pedophile on too.
Yeah, you've wanted to have a pedophile on
For a while. I got close on one in Texas, in Austin, Texas. I got
How
close.
did you get close?
Somebody reached out, somebody listened and said, this happens sometimes when people reach out and say, I'm very interesting, you should interview me. I normally don't like that because then it's like, I'm sure you think you're interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather you like, oh, I know this guy who's a recovered, drug addict you should really talk to. And that's how I got in touch with Donovan. But when they're like, I'm a recovered drug addict, you should contact me, it's like, nah, you want it too much. You're not going to, I don't know why. It's just my feeling is I get turned off. But anyway, so this guy reached out for himself, and I was like, yeah, but it was going to be at this festival. And I really regret saying, yeah, I'll take off the festival, and I'll just meet you somewhere. But
you should have done that.
I
is
should have
what
for
you're
sure
saying?
because I was like, I'll do it next year with you, and then I just lost touch with him.
Why couldn't you do both, the festival and
I totally could have
taken out
I
2
totally could
hours?
have. Yeah, I
talk
totally
to
could
him?
have.
Yeah.
I just was like, I'm here with all my friends. Let me just do this later.
What do you want to know from a pedophile?
I want to know the draw, the pull. Because from what I gather, I saw this one guy in that show, the Catch a Predator.
Yeah.
This one guy, he knew what it was once they caught him, and he didn't know exactly what the deal was, who this interviewer was, but he knew like, okay, I'm being set up. I've been caught, and he was like, so why do you do this, Brian Williams or whoever? He's like, why do you think this is okay? And the guy goes, can you just send in the cops already so they can arrest me and execute me? Like he was like, the feeling I got from him was like, I can't stop this.
Yeah.
So yes, I need someone to stop me. And I want to know, just like, when did you start feeling attracted to, younger boys or younger girls? How do you stop the urge, or how do you complete the urge? And do you feel bad later? Is it super exciting? I mean, honestly, I like me, myself, Ari. I'm attracted to 22-year-old chicks. And some of my friends say that's gross, and I'm sure it is to some people. And other people say that's awesome. But like, that's just what I caught, the 22-year-old bug. But I know a guy who's into 55-year-old chicks. And to me, that's gross, But,
we don't know
that bug.
We don't know why we're attracted to some people
I
like
think it's just a
redheads.
sickness. Yeah, you catch the 12-year-old bug, and it's like, now you're fucked. That's what you get boners for?
Yeah, you don't want to catch that one.
I mean, so I just want to know. I just want to talk to him and see what that's like, and see if I can do it without going, you're an asshole, you're an animal, you should be killed. Just to
Has that ever happened in any of your interviews?
No. That's why I want to interview Mencia. That's why I want to interview a pedophile. I want to test myself.
Yeah.
But I think I can compartmentalize enough. I'm pretty good at that.
Well, I think it's important, too. I mean, so often in journalism, we want to see the journalist taking an active side in
That's
something.
Joan Didion shit. That's
I
bullshit.
don't like that.
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You see all these blogs now. This is why journalism sucks now. It's blog is the new journalism. But there should never be an adverb in your title, So like Beth Stelling. Remember that story? She came forward. She got raped by another comedian.
Who?
Beth Stelling.
Oh, Beth?
Uh-huh. This happened 5 months ago, maybe 4 months ago.
Okay.
And everyone was talking about it. But the articles were all comedian bravely comes forward to talk about, and it's like, no, not bravely. It's just comedian comes forward.
Yeah.
When you say bravely, you're already guiding the listener, the viewer, the reader into taking a side.
Yeah.
And that's just wrong.
Just lay out the facts, and most people will go to the side that you want.
Yeah, but just let them. Once you put an adverb in there, it's just like, oh, you're cheating. You're cheating, and you're making people believe whatever you want.
Yeah. And you're not taking a side by saying that you shouldn't say bravely either.
No, right. I'm not saying she's a coward for doing it. I'm saying comes forward. Comedian comes forward with rape allegations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what actually happened. The bravery that's opinion. I have no idea how brave it was. That's not on me. And then everyone goes, so brave of you, so brave of you. It's like, yeah, that's the article told you to write that. All these comics are like, so brave of you. I'm like, don't you see how you've been swayed? You're using the exact words that the article used. I think she should come forward. The bravery thing is like you're getting that from a headline, and I've seen it attack other comics. Other comics viciously attack so and so. Viciously is not part of the attack. The attack is not part of the attack.
You're reading into it, the viciousness of it.
Yeah, and you're already guiding like, oh well, let me see what this vicious thing is. Trevor Noah's racist tweets. And you're like, well, let me read these racist tweets instead of going, let me read these tweets and then figure out for myself if it's racist or not.
Mm-hmm.
Once you go, here, read this racist thing where you're going, okay, let me see how racist it is, instead of going, let me see how funny it is, and go, you know what? This is kind of racist, man. That's something you came up with on your own.
Could you say controversial? Or is that too leading?
That's leading only, sort of leading. It's leading only if controversial comic. It was like, we're commenting on the fact that you have had controversy in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Or there is a controversy, but no, not controversial. Yeah, that's also leading. It's a good point. It's like, I don't know. It's when blogs took over journalism. You know, you couldn't write that in the Washington Post.
The citizen journalist.
Yeah, and they don't. Maybe they do know what they're doing. Actually, if you do enough blogs, you know how to like lead people. You're probably smart about it at some point, and you can change people. I read a book. It's the 7 mistakes we make when thinking. That human makes when thinking, and one of them I remember. Excuse me, I read like the first third of a book, and one of them was humans value stories over statistics. So we had a thing when Reagan took down welfare. He took it way back because there was some lady who was driving a Cadillac and she was on welfare. And he was like, this is fucking bullshit. If someone could be on welfare and afford
Reagan
a Cadillac.
said that?
He didn't say this is bullshit. But he pulled it way back because he was like, this is ridiculous. If this can happen. And then all these people on welfare who really needed it were like, wait. We need this to feed our families.
Right.
But that one story is so much bigger than like 98% of people need welfare that are on it. 2% don't. And now you pick any story from the 2% and you're going to go, welfare's pointless. LASIK eye surgery, I got that. And they're like, it works for 99% of the people. For 1% of the people, they go back to their eyesight before. And for 1/10 of 1%, it can be damaging. If you hear the stories of that 1/10 of 1%, you're like, no, my friend's father is blind now, so I'll never do that. It's like, yeah, that was already in the statistics.
Mm-hmm.
That percentage was there, whether or not you heard that actual story. So knowing that, you should use stories to sway people because it helps sway your argument.
Yeah, confirmation bias.
Yeah. Nietzsche said that was the biggest problem with philosophy at his time, was that people had this opinion already, and they went into it to try to prove their opinion instead of saying, I don't know what's right, what's wrong. Let's just look at all the cases and decide for myself. These people, these bloggers, they just make you think a certain way. It's just like I see through it now, so now I just get offended that other comics haven't seen through it yet. You know, when they say Amy Schumer perfectly puts down a slut-shaming tweeter, and then everyone's like, yeah, I'm like, she didn't perfectly put down. She had a comeback on Twitter. It was fine.
Right.
But everyone's like, well, it says perfectly. All those like clickbait things.
Most people just see the headline.
Yeah. A bully perfectly puts that, in his place, and it's like, no, he didn't. He got slapped. He didn't even get knocked out.
Just a quick interruption to remind you that you're listening to CFRO 100.5 FM, Vancouver's cooperative radio station. I'm Guy McPherson. The show is What's So Funny, and the guest is Ari Shaffir. Well, you got to preach the gospel then. You know what I was thinking yesterday watching you and your brain at work? You studied the Talmud.
Uh-huh.
And you've gone away from that.
Yeah.
Atheist.
Yeah.
But don't you think that helped you?
Oh, yeah.
Like
definitely Talmud study.
The way you analyze things.
Well,
you
Talmud
look at things.
Yeah. Yeah. Talmud is all, and English major, actually, is the same thing. But Talmud is all real logic-based. You break down a passage. There's a passage that if you accidentally kill my wife, accidentally, if you do it on purpose, that's murder. You get killed for that. But if it's accidentally, there's a few rules apply. One, I can kill you back if you kill a direct family member of mine. And then they have these safe zones where you have, a certain amount of time to get to a safe zone. If you get there, you're fucking free. Until then, I'm allowed to kill you back. Most people wouldn't do it. If you ran over somebody in a car by accident, it's because my wife crossed the street, out of a green light and you ran over her, I would forgive you. I know that I would hear the report, but I'd be allowed to kill you. Anyway, there's a thing that goes, once you get to that safe zone, or the passage, the time passes where you're not allowed to kill me anymore. I'm not allowed to kill you anymore. You owe me a certain amount of money. Or, excuse me, I'm sorry. If you killed me, you owe my wife a certain amount of money. And that money changes based on if I'm a doctor or if I'm a garbage man. It's higher for doctors than for garbage men.
Naturally.
Yeah, and the Talmud just goes in and goes, wait, why? Are you saying the life of a doctor is worth more than the life of a garbage man? And then you have to break it down. And you have to analyze it. And that's what the Gomorrah is. That's what the Talmud is. And they say no, it's because the wife is used to a certain way of living. And the doctor, she makes, $100 a week. The garbage man, she makes $10 a week. So you have to give her that $10 a week or give her that $100 a week just for a little while to get her on her way. Mm-hmm. It's not about the life of the guy who's gone. It's about the life of the person who's still there. Just logic. Right. That's how you break down the passages. So with that, I absolutely use that for my stand-up.
So you have no regrets about spending a good portion of your life in
regrets.
Study.
No, I'm angry at sometimes I get angry at people who are still religious, but I don't regret being there. Same thing as English major. You analyze a novel, that analysis really helps me in my stand-up.
But it totally does. I mean, you were parsing Biggie Smalls yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And you had something about, I don't want to give away your jokes, but something that I'd thought about, and you'll know which joke you're referring to. Right. Yeah, it was about not having an abortion due to religion.
Oh, yeah. I like using their shit against them. Mm-hmm. I really like using their shit against them.
And you said, where is your religion when you were having sex behind the dumpster or something like that?
Yeah, all these people say I can't have abortion as religion.
I mean, because I always thought my defense of the Catholic Church or the Pope, and I knew a lot of people who would say how immoral it is that they wouldn't allow condoms to be sold in these South American, largely Catholic countries, and there's population, there's poverty. And I said, well, what makes you think that they're going to listen to the Pope?
Because they fuck.
Yeah,
they fuck without condoms, so they're going to...
And there's also theft, there's murder.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just say, oh, the one thing we can't do is have sex with a condom because the Pope says it, but we're doing all these other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's such a weird thing. But they won't even have... Yeah, it's so weird how people pick and choose religion. But they always told me it's not a fucking salad. You can't choose your toppings.
In
religions,
Judaism or any religion?
Well, hardcore Judaism, it's all or nothing. They're no like, well, I do these things, but I don't do that one. They're like, no, there's no not doing this one.
So the joke about, even going beyond the joke, the reality of the abortion excuse, not having an abortion because of religion, they're picking and choosing is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got pregnant. That didn't just happen. Yeah. It's not like Mary having an abortion.
Right.
You fucked. So, yeah, where's religion suddenly?
Their answer to that might be that, well, now we're talking about human life. Taking a life, albeit not yet a fully formed life.
Yeah.
Rather than just
picking and choosing, man.
Yeah, it's still picking and choosing.
Laws are laws. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely different punishments for it, but gossip and murder, they're both you're going against the commandment of God.
They're equal in the eyes of God.
Maybe there's a harsher punishment, but the law is the law. And for you to go, well, this one's allowed, that one's not allowed. Like, that's not up to us. That's only up to Hashem.
Hashem?
Only up to God, the name.
What is Hashem?
Hashem means the name in Hebrew. So you call God so you don't waste his name.
Yeah.
So you don't waste it, use it in vain. So that's one of his names. It's just the name.
Right. Is there a logic to that?
Yeah, you don't want to use his name in vain. That's one of the laws.
But then what is in vain and what is not in vain?
I don't know. It's just like...
If I'm talking about Ari later, I interviewed Ari. Am I using your name in vain?
It's almost like you only use it in special occasions. Adonai is a proper name for God, and when it's almost like an anti-curse word where people are like, whoa, you can't say that just on its own like that. You can't invoke. It's like Candyman or something, but like in a good way. But you can't say these names of God. There's one, Jehovah is Yud Hey Vav Hey. They're the letters. And they don't even spell it out. So, hey, they also Yud K, Vav K. They'll change the name because it's like that's the holiest name of God. You're just not supposed to say that. Yeah. And so Jehovah's are like a pronunciation of it. And you're like, what? You're not supposed. That's the whole deal. Is you're not supposed to say that fucking name. You're not supposed to say that type of it, like ever. So you mispronounce when that word is written. You pronounce it Adonai. You don't even pronounce it Jehovah.
Right. Even though the person you're talking to would know what you mean by it.
It's too holy. Only the high priest can say it.
Right. But this reminds me something I thought about. I mean, I think Louis C.K. also talked about when you write F dash dash dash.
You know,
you're putting that thought into my head.
Yeah.
Because I'm reading it.
Fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like pretending to go around it doesn't go around it. Same thing with like beeping curse words. Like, why? We all know we're cursing. It's fucking TV.
Although Ari, let me tell you, I know you don't have children.
I mean, I guess I'll repeat it, but no, I don't have children.
You don't have children. And if you're watching with a 10-year-old and it's beeped, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
They don't ask.
Really?
What is that?
Yeah, but why when my show airs at 12:30, they got to fucking put a beep over?
Yeah. Is this Comedy Central?
Yeah.
Yeah, they beep everything, don't they?
No, now they're allowing shit. So you can say shit, you can say ass. It's like a slow burn. South Park is the only ones pushing. And then everyone will go, okay, fine, South Park did it 5 years ago. You got to let 5 years pass after South Park did it. And then people go, yeah, you can say shit. We don't have to beep shit. And it's like, we don't have to beep anything. It's 12:30 at night. Stories about drugs. Who cares if you say fucking, so I got this PCP instead of, so got this PCP. Like, what's the line there?
Yeah. Language police.
Oh, it's 12:30 at night. There's none of your kids are awake. If they are, they're definitely being exposed to curse words. Plus, with the internet, you can't stop them anymore.
And there's a bigger problem here is that it's not just the curse words that are the problem. As you say, it's the subject matter.
Yeah.
That is more damaging in a lot of, if you're talking about graphic sex or drug use or whatever.
Yeah, that's way more damaging.
And the kids are going, these people seem okay and they're doing these things.
But to me, here's the thing. I believe comedy is an art form.
Mm-hmm. It can be.
It can be. Well, I think even when it's done bad, it's still an art form, just really shitty, you know?
Okay.
I mean, painting is an art form, but your children do it at 7. They're just not the best, you know? But like, you just can't say what people can say. Curse word or topic, it's just like, that's an artist. If Picasso chooses to paint some naked pictures, you can't be like, smut. You're like, that's what he chose to paint today.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't view comedy as an art form, so we start going, oh, you can't say that, you can't say that. And it's like, the reality is, you should show whatever the artist says. That's his vernacular. That's the way he talks. You have no right to change that. Nothing should be beeped.
You only have the right to change the channel.
Yeah, exactly. And so then it's like, well, I don't want my children being exposed to this. It's like, well, then don't get a pass to the fucking Getty Museum, or don't get a pass to television, or somehow don't let them watch it. But you're filming an artist. Mm-hmm. So you're just going to let him do what he does. I have this now where they want to like take out the word fag from a story. And I'm like, that's the way the comic talked. He grew up in East L.A., and he said, like, if I turn my back and don't fight, they're all going to think I'm a fag, you know? And they showed me, like, we can cut this and make it look seamless. And they showed me the cut, and it did look seamless.
And what was the cut?
It was, they think I'm going to look like a fag. They think I'm going to look like a pussy. He repeats, like, the same thing. So they go, well, he's equating fag to being a pussy. And I'm like, well, one, pussy has a double connotation, so that could be anything.
Yeah.
But two, it's like, so they cut it out, so it's like, they're going to think I'm a pussy. Gets the same thing across. But I'm like, the comic used the word fag. I don't want to defend it, but you can't take it out because that's his word. You can't take out the niggers from Huck Finn as much as you want to. We did. We burned Huck Finn's for a while. We banned it from library. It's a classic book by a classic author. It's not up to us. It's up to the artist.
And it was of the time.
Of the time. They go, well, this is wrong to use that word. Right, it's of the time. So if this guy's saying that everyone's going to think I'm a fag, that's what they were all going to think then. So I'm sorry if gay people now are upset, but you're upset about a 20 years ago thing that this guy's relaying. I had a joke, this guy J.F. Harris does a joke about it, where he says everyone beat me up when he was a nerd. Everyone beat me up and called him a fag. And some lady was like, you know, that word, you shouldn't use that word because it hurts. He goes, I know, it hurt me when they called me a fag. So it's like, it's just not up to us. It's up to us to go, oh, this is NC-17 or this is what the rating system, to be like Louis C.K. says, watch your fucking kids then. Watch them. Teach them what to use and what not to use. People are going to curse. Tell them that's what like uneducated people talk like. And that's the reality of it. That's what they do talk like. But those words are out there. It's vocabulary. You can't take away a word.
I tell my 11-year-old that it's a word and it's legit. I don't think you should use it yet until you form a decent vocabulary, because you don't want it to just be a default.
Same as booze. If you give your 11-year-old free range to booze, he's going to just use it way too much. He's not going to be, and honestly, 18-year-olds are the same way. Mm-hmm. They get drunk. They go to Cowboy Bar in Calgary and they get fucking lit up drunk, you know? And then eventually, I mean, I did too. You probably did too. And then eventually, like...
I never did.
Really?
Yeah.
You just get... You get to the point where you can handle it normally.
Right.
It's the same thing with cursing.
Hopefully,
it's
you get
annoying.
to that point.
Yeah, you just got to teach them somehow. But to say a word is not allowed, it's like, no, all we deal with is words. You can't get rid of any words. And they're like, well, when would you ever use the N-word? I'm like, when I'm trying to anger a black person. If I'm really trying to anger a black person, that word is perfect.
Or also if you're describing a story where that was said.
Where that was used, absolutely. But then it's about a word, sure, but absolutely. Yeah. I mean, me and my friends in high school used to, when we went to Israel, there were no black people around. I mean, none in these small towns. And one of our favorite things was to yell like blocks away to my friend, like, hey, Tony, you, and then just drop an N-bomb, like screaming it. Because you know no one's going to be around that even knows what that word is. So it's sort of frank. But you can't tell that story without having that word in there. Mm-hmm. But even the N-word, it's like, y'all know what we're saying.
I would never condone saying that to anger a black person. Why would you?
Well, honestly, man, if you want to anger I mean, if I knew more about you, I could use another word.
Well,
but if your wife just died and I want to anger you, I'm going to bring that up.
You're an asshole.
If I want to hurt somebody. But hurting someone is I mean, not that you should, but like if you're trying to, you can't take away some words from the arsenal.
When
don't jab if you're in a fight. Why? I don't like to use the word retarded anymore when it's not describing people that have mental disabilities.
When it's not.
Yeah, because if you fall, I'm like, you're retarded, then all these people who I'm not describing get offended. I'm not trying to hurt them, but they are being hurt. So if I say to you, if I use the N-word to someone where it doesn't apply, where I'm not trying to hurt someone or use that word in context of the word, then it's like you're going to hurt black people. Are going to hear that and feel weird, or pretty much anyone is going to feel weird. So it's like, be careful with it. But if that's wait, how was I going with this? fuck.
Retarded people.
Yeah, retarded people. I'm not saying you're being retarded. It's like I'm hurting the wrong people. But if I'm saying this Down syndrome guy, if I refer to him as retarded, it's like no, that's what I'm going for. That's the right word.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever had Todd Glass on your podcast talk about this, the language police kind of thing?
What does he say about it?
Oh, he's very much against any kind of inflammatory word.
That's bullshit.
Have him on.
I will.
Okay.
I'll at least talk to him about it.
You might not get a word in.
Words are important. Whenever they talk about, like, some comic gets in trouble for whatever they said, and then a lot of defense to that comic will be like, they're just jokes, they're just words. And I go, no, that's not. Those people that get mad at Daniel Tosh for doing a rape joke, or Tracy Morgan was saying he'd stab his son if he came out gay, or whatever it is, like, they're giving us the power we want. They're saying our words have power. They have meaning, which I love. That means you're now respecting my art form. Fully respect it into watching the whole fucking thing and not just taking a piece out of context. Where, like Daniel Tosh said, I hope you get raped. Like, that's not all he said. He did a 20-minute set. So there's stuff he said that led up to it, to getting the crowd. You know how hard it is to get the crowd? Joe Rogan used to do this bit about an anti-religion bit about Noah's Ark. It was real in depth about how, he goes, if you told the story of Noah's Ark to a 9-year-old retarded boy, he'd have some questions. That was his main crux. Like, you don't just take this as fact. Like, how did all the animals get there? And he did this in retarded voice. And then at the end he goes, I'm not that retarded. To be like, I don't believe this. Where all the people come from? Where did black people come from if Noah and his wife were white? Just all these questions he would have. He goes, what do the animals eat, since animals eat other animals? But he goes, I can't do that in the beginning of my act. Too many Christians. They get too upset. He goes, I really can't do it until 30 minutes into my act because it would just anger people. I've got to get them on my side.
And it probably still angers some.
Still some. But he goes, I've got to get them on my side. I've got to really get them to trust me, and then I can go into it. So when you just quote that thing alone, you've taken away all the art of this. Something very slowly. If I'm going to do an black joke, and if I first do a bunch of anti-Jewish jokes, the crowd be like, look, I'm making fun of everybody here, but you're only quoting the black one, then it's like you're taking away all the fucking art of this. Slowly going into this, getting people on my side. Letting that woman who he said, I hope you get raped, or wouldn't it be funny if you get raped, letting her hang herself, with continuing to talk out and then getting the crowd against it. That's all the fucking art of it. You can't just take one word. Fucking watch the whole thing. I've had people go like, I got in trouble. I got trouble once. There's never trouble, by the way. It's always just people on the internet. But they said I used someone's name when I shouldn't have used their name.
Oh, I remember that now.
Yeah. It's wrong. The only reason to use someone's name is to bully them. And I just kept quiet about it. But I go, if you watch that special, you will see that I use 4 other people's full names.
Yeah, and you use somebody's name here just talking.
All the time. I think it's a richer way of telling things.
Like I say, the comedy's in the details.
Mm-hmm. And if you're willing to do the research and not just go, why else would you do that? And be like, well, look for yourself. Because Mark Twain does not have to tell you why he used the N-word. It's on you to decide. So my feeling is watch the whole fucking thing and then analyze it. Yes, it has power. Watch the whole thing. Figure it out.
Do you think it's possible?
You don't read one page of a book and say, I don't like this book. Anyway, do I think it's possible? What?
Do you, if you're trying to anger a black person or a gay person and you use those inflammatory words, does that make you racist or homophobic necessarily?
No, because you don't have to believe it. You're using it to anger them and not to say, now, if you use it around your friends, if I'm talking to you, I'm like, these fucking faggots at these restaurants, you know what I'm saying, man? It gets worse and worse all the time.
Right.
That's more showing of a problem with a way of thinking. And by the way, way of thinking is not the problem. I mean, that's the main problem, not the words you use. You don't want to bother people in their normal day-to-day life. But yeah, if I'm trying to anger somebody, I don't have to believe it, what I'm saying. I just know that I'm going to make you mad.
And yet the world will look upon you as a racist or homophobic.
Yeah, I mean, when I get a heckler in my crowd, I look at them, I look at their wife. I think if their wife is ugly and fat, I'm going to make fun of that. I'm going to make fun of, like...
Well, that's what I was...
Whatever it is. And I don't even care.
People will...
Be ugly and fat. It's fine. But I know you care.
You'll be... I'll be... they'll say, oh, you're bald.
Yeah.
So that's something... You look for...
You look to try to hurt someone.
Right.
And now most people will be like, I have plenty of bald friends. I don't care.
Right.
But they think you might care.
Right.
So they're going to be like, this will be the thing.
Or you're overweight. You're
Sure,
fat.
that's another one.
Yeah.
If I know you have a problem with it, I'm more likely to use it than if I have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what I mean. Those inflammatory words do have places. Words do have meaning.
They have power.
You have power for sure. But it's like, you can't say don't use that because it's too powerful. If you want to say don't have guns, but it's like, what if I only use a gun for hunting cougars that are on my property? that I need to because there are mountain lions here and I have to shoot them. The population's super high. Or deer for eating. Let's say you're only using it for that. Like, well, if you're only going to use it for that, that's fine. It's like, well, then it's up to you what to use it for. You know? To say I don't trust anyone, but guns might not be the same thing. But to say I don't trust anyone with a gun because you might use it to kill someone. The N-word, it comes from the reason you want to use it. One, because it makes black people or white people too feel weird. Just feel weird, you know? But it comes from a place of I hate this race. But that is the problem, that you hate the race, not the words used to describe it. Stanhope had a bit about it.
So you could mask it by never saying it, but inside you still feel it.
Yeah.
And
what about using a different word? Coon or these fucking moon crickets or whatever. They're less offensive.
Well, you could
the same
express
thing.
your hate saying African Americans.
Jew has a connotation. Some people, my friends say, like, can I say Jew or is that a bad word? I'm like, no, I'm a Jew. That's totally fine. I'm not, if I'm black, I'm not a nigger. I'm just a black person. But I am a Jew. But if you go, you fucking Jew. Jew works both ways. It can work derogatory or not. So it's
in the context.
Yeah, it's the eye of the beholder, pretty much. Whoever's deciding, whoever's using the word. You can't take away words. That's our way of expression. That's our most, I got to talk to Todd Glass about that. Now, if he's saying, don't inflame people, don't anger people, that's a different thing.
He's saying there's plenty other words you could use. Why would you want to do that if it offends some people?
To offend would be a clear example.
I look forward to this episode. I hope
to offend is a
it.
clear example of why you would use that if it can offend people. If offending is not, when people go offensive material is wrong, it's like offensive material has the same place as fucking prop comedy and you know, observational humor and political humor. It's all just part of humor, and there's no one more right than the other. You'll definitely get more people walking out on offensive humor than lollipop jokes, but you'll get a lot more people bored at lollipop jokes than fucking offensive humor. You know, so is offensive is being offended worse than being bored? I don't think it is.
That could numb people too if you overuse it.
Absolutely, if you overuse fuck too much, then you've numbed people to it.
Yeah,
and I did at some point in my act. I used curse words way too much. So when I did want to use a curse word, and I fucked this girl, didn't have any power if I just used it 12 times before.
Right.
But that's on me not using it correctly. But don't say don't use the word fuck. Saying use it when it's time. You know, if you don't curse at all, and then you finally telling the story of you as a child at the end of your hour-long set, and, you know, I'm a 7-year-old, I went up to my teacher and I go, hey, teacher, fuck you. And I hadn't said it at all, people are going to go, whoa, you know? But if I said it 50 times and it just doesn't do anything. That's what words are. Use them fucking wisely.
There was a great comic in Vancouver, now deceased, Erwin Barker.
Yeah.
Clean.
Yeah.
Clean. But he used it once in a set, and it had such power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So those N-bombs, all those inflammatory words, they're all just on a scale of what you take. Here's when I figured it out. I saw Jeff Ross do a joke about some tragedy in America. Could have been a school shooting, could have been the Boston bombing, could have been something. It was something. Whatever it was. And I remember people telling jokes about that right after it happened and crowds turning against them. And then Ross did this joke, and it was like 6-7 months later, and it got a mixture of laughs and oohs, but nothing really upset. Kind of like a 9/11 joke we'll get now. No one's going to get really upset now. It's got this kind of like, we're removed enough, we can laugh at it.
Yeah.
But I realized the joke he made was pretty similar to the joke other people were making at the time, but it wasn't as new. So like he says, too soon, you know, which is a real thing. So there's a meter going of an offensive meter. And if you do it too soon, the offensive meter goes way up. And if you don't do it so long, the offensive meter is way down. Maybe it's only at 30%. And a lot of people want it at 30%. But my taste is, no, I want that in the red. If you want to make me laugh, you got to put that joke in the red. You got to do it the day after it happened, before the bodies have been buried. You know, I want to hear that joke and go, wow. You know, I want it in the red. It's not up to you to decide what's right or what's wrong. It's just, you don't want it in the red, then don't come to comics who put it in the red. But it bores me. I like spicy food. So if you want a drop of Tabasco, that's not going to do it for me.
What was Ross's joke?
I forget.
Oh, okay.
I forget. But it was just like the same type. The only joke I heard that worked right after the Newtown shootings was like this kindergarten got shot up, and I tried, didn't work. My friend Benji made a joke, and he goes, you know, if these school shooters, if instead of targeting like regular kindergartens, if they just went to special needs schools, like with the Down syndrome's kids, the reaction wouldn't be nearly as bad. And then he mimicked the parents going, you know, you shouldn't have done that, I guess. It's not right to kill students, but, you know, and it got a laugh. It's the only guy I saw get able to do it.
Wow.
It's just a question of taste. That's all it is. And it's not up to us to regulate who should get something off what. It really is that spicy food thing. I just got that. But like, if you don't like spicy food at all, I put 1 drop of Tabasco, and you'd be like, ooh, it's spicy. And I eat it, go, this is nothing, man. But if I get some Southern Thai dish that makes me cry and like, this is what I like, and somebody else will be like, I'll be in the hospital for that. Like, yeah, then this is not your thing. Jim Jeffries shouldn't be exposed to people who are fucking housewives. It's not the right fit. It's not wrong what he's doing. It's just not the right fit for you.
Just a quick interruption to remind you that you're listening to CFRO 100.5 FM, Vancouver's cooperative radio station. I'm Guy McPherson. The show is What's So Funny, and the guest is Ari Shaffir. You talked about how you changed how you used to overuse curse words, and now you don't. Has your comedy changed since you moved to New York, do you think? Because there's a different style.
There's a different style for sure in New York than L.A. That's what was most interesting about the move, seeing these new comics and seeing the new, like, a lot more tourists in New York, a lot more, like, sets, so you really concentrate on building that set, boom, boom, boom. I talked about this with Judah Friedlander, where we don't know what's right or wrong, because I couldn't wrap my head around why. I have this theory that practice makes perfect. It's not my theory.
I've heard it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything. Basketball. The people who practice more. Wayne Gretzky, practice all the time.
He's
He's a
hockey.
12-year-old. Yeah. I just was going down with
Okay.
athletes. Yeah, I know he's hockey. What was I going to say? Yeah. So if you do more sets, you're going to be better. And in L.A., the average, like I was in the high end. I did like 5 to 8 sets a week. But in New York, I'm on the high end and I'm doing 15 to 20. So if your practice makes perfect, that's going to make you a better comic. But I see these comics from New York and L.A., and there's not a big difference.
No?
No. Of the legit
Stylistically?
comics. Not of the first 3 or 4 year comedy, but like once you get in. No, in terms of response. Not stylistically, there is a difference.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's just like they're overusing the spits. They're just running the same shit over and over again. Whereas in L.A., it's like, I'm only going up once every like 3 days. Let me prepare and really write something new. So you'll get something more interesting. Whereas in New York, I'm just running it. You don't stop and like, let me tag this right. Let me add some good jokes to this. But it is more of like a boom, 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 joke thing. And in LA, it's more like real. There is the shitty LA comics are the actors, and they're annoying. But I don't really even.
I know
them.
your opinion on actors in general.
Yeah, it's worthless. It's an overrated art form. Kid that comes in is like, well, he's actually great. He's really good. I'm like, yeah, he's a fucking child.
And he can do it.
You know who can't be a doctor? A child. Except Doogie Howser, and that was a situation comedy.
Yeah. So, but why did you go to New York? In order to get all those extra sets and practice makes perfect?
I had this talk with my friend Duncan Trussell, who will be here. He's a really interesting
spiritual guy.
Mm-hmm. He does comedy. He always did that, where he would go up every like 3 weeks, and he would come up with these killer things. I mean, he was the opposite of me, but he would develop really well. His stuff is really interesting and out there, but he would like take time to write a fully formed, really off the wall kind of like idea where he'd have a demonic puppet with him, that would eventually control his body halfway through his set.
And he would do this in the privacy of his own home.
Right. He would do it for a while and then he'd bring it on
stage.
Right,
yeah, that's what I mean. He wouldn't work on it and work on it.
He'd do the lip syncing, he'd get all this stuff down, then he'd bring it out. Like, wow, while I was just running jokes over and over again for a month, you were also running it your way. Anyway, we had this talk about he was trying to get podcasts bigger, and he said he'd like to put a real, like not an amount, but a real what he can achieve, a real achievement of something. So if I get 100,000, based on what I know from when we were all at like 5,000 downloads or something like that, when we were just starting, he goes, if I get 100,000 downloads per episode, that will equate to this much money in advertising revenue on average. Not necessarily exact, but on average, I will get this much, and that means in a year I will buy a house. So he goes, if I can get it to 100,000. I get a house. He goes, a real tangible thing to look forward to. Not just like...
Was that legit? Could he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in Vancouver. But.
Not in Vancouver, yeah.
But
in the outskirts and the shitty parts of gentrified LA, gentrifying LA. And so it's like, and he goes, I think we should all put tangible goals like that. Not just, I want to get to 100,000 downloads per podcast, because that's not a thing. That's just a number. But like, what does that mean for your life, Anyway, so I was like, I don't want a house though, Duncan. I was fighting him a little bit on it. Because he was like, you should really be trying to grow your numbers. And I was like, but I don't want a house. I'm happy in my apartment that's 2 blocks away from the Comedy Store, that I can just walk there and do spots every night. Like, I don't want those things. And he goes, well, what do you want? I'm like, I just like working out, just doing workout sets. And I was like, you know what, though? If I had unlimited money, if I could do whatever I want, I would do more workout sets, and I would do sets in New York and LA. And then it was like, why don't I do that? The more of my income moved away from like commercial work and more like would go towards on stand-up comedy, I was like, well, I don't have to do that commercial work. I don't have to be in LA anymore. And I just devoted more of my time. So like when I'm not on the road, I just work out, I'll do 3 sets at the Comedy Store. So why not do 7 sets at the stand in the Comedy Cellar when I'm not on the road? If I'm fully committed to stand-up comedy, then fully commit to it. you know, and there's rooms I want to do, and there's crowds I want to do, and I want to get the difference. I want to see different things. So I did comedy in China for 3 weeks, and I did comedy in Edinburgh for a month, just to see what it's like to do a different crowd, you know? Invest in fucking research for your corporation.
Wow. So the Buddha, Duncan Trussell, helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Spirituality helps.
Yeah, he's coming. You should get him on your podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to. But I thought you just did podcasts. I didn't realize you worked in clubs.
What?
So you need to get on terrestrial radio.
I think that's what you're saying, yeah. Because I guess what he does, he does his stand-up in his basement, I guess. And I'm like, oh, you don't understand even the argument here, man.
We're talking about Howard Stern, who did a 25-minute rant on you.
Yeah.
I saw this for the first time last night. I listened to the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he just kept repeating the same misinformation. It was wild. Howard Stern.
He's lost it, man. He's lost touch with reality.
Totally.
And but people get on me. They're like, he achieved so much. How can you say that? I'm like, well, can you say Kobe Bryant's not good right now? Even though he had 12 All-Star games and fucking led the league in scoring 7 years?
Yes.
Can you say that's a guy who shoots 35% from the field? That's not a good player.
Right.
Yes, of course you can say that.
Yeah.
It's just tangible.
You're not talking about his history.
Yeah. And so Howard Stern was great. He was one of the best interviewers of all time. He's completely lost touch. He takes his fucking limousine from his mansion to his studio 1 day a week and takes it back. He doesn't even know the neighborhood of the town he works in, the area he works in. He goes to Hollywood parties. He doesn't know what a subway looks like now. You know, he's just lost it, and it's okay. He's 60.
62.
He kept it until he was fucking 50.
Yeah,
that's unheard of. That's great. It's gone now, and he's embarrassing, and he should retire. Every time I hear, well, Howard Stern said this, it's always like the wrong side. Then I realize, oh, you're just an old Jewish man. I shouldn't listen to your point of view. You're not Howard Stern. You're just an old fucking Jew. You're the last guy to listen to. He's completely conservative now. And it wasn't just the stuff he says about podcasts. People like get that misconception. I didn't like him way before. When Opie and Anthony had that problem, where he didn't like Opie and Anthony because they would talk shit about him. And Howard Stern was a big free speech guy. You know, that was his whole stand. I'm going to Sirius because I can say whatever I want. The FCC can't control me. And then Opie and Anthony interviewing some homeless guy, just making fun of a homeless guy. You know, they all have those freaks that they interview. And the homeless guy says he would make love to Condoleezza Rice by holding her down until she loves him. And to the Queen, he would love the Queen. He would kiss her until she was into it. And somebody said, they're saying rape is okay. And Opie and Anthony were like, no, the homeless guy is saying rape is okay. We're making fun of him by letting him talk. If he also said, you know, the dollar should be abolished, we would laugh at that too. We're not standing by this. We're laughing at him. And Howard Stern goes, no, they crossed the line. There's some things you don't do. And it's like, wait, you're the free speech guy. Oh, you fucking sellout punk. You little bitch. Because you're taking this opportunity. You should say, if you were a man, you should say, hey, I don't like those guys. I think they're pieces of shit. But they can say whatever they want. That there should be no line. That's what he should say.
Well, he crossed the line many times over his career.
I know, and he should know better. He's a punk. He's a punk. So every time shit like that comes up, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And then when I heard he goes, American Sniper was a wonderful film, I'm like, what? Who? Again? This guy's got the worst opinion in the world. I went off on him for that. And then that podcast thing came up, and it was like something else. He goes, oh, you hate, because he said podcasts are for losers. I'm like, no, that's just another thing he said. That's the last. That's not even what made me get mad. It was mostly the fucking
Well, does he know that
American
people
Sniper.
are buying houses from their podcast?
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's done no research. He just goes, it's wrong. It's wrong. It's for losers. That's not the way you become a broadcaster. I'm like, who wants to become a broadcaster? What are you talking about?
You're just broadcasting in
FM.
a different way, but only to 7 people.
And he goes, you know what I accomplished? You know where I was when I was your age? And goes, okay, yeah, you're the biggest radio guy in the world, and radio is a dying art form. I think Belgium has gotten rid of FM radio. They no longer have it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're getting rid of terrestrial radio in countries. Like, it's literally dying. There's no question. You know, with Sirius, with other, like, and you can plug in this podcast. People can listen to it in your car instead of tuning in. With all that, he's the biggest one. So for him to say, compare me to him is like ridiculous. Like, how about you compare me to some guy in Cleveland who's been doing it for 17 years, who's got the number 4 ranked. He's awful. He's awful. I'm way better than that. And I make more money than that.
He has a number 4 ranked radio show?
In Cleveland.
Yeah.
You know, I make more money than that off my podcast than that guy does.
Or Connecticut.
Yeah. Also, by the way, on your Sirius network, you don't pay people. Greg Fitzsimmons makes basically nothing. All these people make basically nothing for the opportunity. So what money can they make? You made the money, and now you're not letting anyone else make any money. He's a punk. All his coworkers, you know, the people that are in studio with him, when they do reads, they make money. Like, you know, go to 1-800.com for whatever. He goes, no, none of you get to do that. Only me. He's a controlling bitch, man. He's
Well,
a fucking
what I
asshole.
really didn't like about that segment was all the yes men behind him.
All the
That's
yes
right,
men.
Howard.
Exactly.
Oh,
Well,
who is this guy? What
Yeah.
does he know?
How can he develop? If all these people are saying, "Oh, he's so great, you're so great, you're right," like you can't get the right opinion. Someone should tell him, like, "Hey, Howard, I think you're way off on this podcast stuff. I think honestly, if podcasts were around when you were having trouble with the FCC, you would have loved it. What you should say is, I wish it was around when I was coming up. This could have really helped my career."
Yeah. It's funny also that he heard what you said
On
from
a
a podcast.
And he's such a fucking star fucker that he's like, "Well, Joe Rogan, he's my friend. He doesn't say any of that." I'm like, "You didn't even listen. Joe Rogan's laughing at you. He's laughing at me making fun of you. When I say you and Clint Eastwood should go in an old man camp and suck each other's wrinkled old dicks, Joe Rogan is laughing hysterically at you." When that came up, when that stuff, so usually I wake up, I check my Twitter, I've got like 30 replies at me. So every once in a while, I'll get like 100 if something happened. If a TV set aired earlier, if my nasty show aired in Canada, I wake up and I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, I guess my nasty show aired, because I get like 75 tweets. I woke up to about 700 tweets. And I was like, whoa, what?
What's happening?
And it was just Howard Stern going off on me for 30 minutes.
And
then
what was your immediate reaction to that?
I was glee, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, just laughing, enjoying myself, just like, oh, this is amazing. And then Rogan called me. I like maybe 30 minutes after I woke, I'm just leafing through these things. Rogan called me. I picked up the phone. And we both don't say a word. We just start laughing. I just go, and he just starts laughing. We laughed for about 5 straight minutes. And then we started talking about it. And he was like, you did what he did to other people.
Yeah.
He goes, what he used to do, he'd pick out a guy in a local market, make fun of them, get them to respond to him. And then they'd be like, oh, who's this Howard Stern guy? He goes, you've done that. You've gotten him so mad that you're using his tactics against him.
But they weren't tactics when you were talking.
No, I'm just saying he's a piece of shit. Fuck him. And people are like, would you go on there? I'm like, why? I don't even think he's funny anymore.
Come on.
I'd rather do Corolla. By the way, Corolla gets the same number of downloads as Howard Stern gets listens.
Hey, but listen, punk, he started in terrestrial radio. That's why. He had those listeners.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is for sure with Corolla.
Yeah.
He took his, listenership over there, but...
Yeah, no, but we want you to
he's
do
such
Stern.
A star fucker.
You would have Stern on your podcast, wouldn't you?
Yeah, about interviewing in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have him on for that. I did invite him. That was my response to him. Like, no, I don't have time to go on your show, but I'd love to have you on my podcast. They're great. And I would. And honestly, I would go on a show if on the same level as when I'm in Indianapolis, I'll go on some shitty radio show that I don't want to do. But It's like, yeah, I got to promote the fucking, if I'm not doing anything, and it's like, all right, I'll go in there. But I'm not going to revere him. And honestly,
and I appreciate you
I got
for
other
doing
stuff
this.
to do.
I know that's the reason.
Well, you're a cool guy. You're a normal guy. It's a fun discussion. In terms of like, look how much he can get you. It's like, what can he get me? Some old truckers? His fan base is dying off. Those people don't go to comedy shows. When he goes, I'm making you famous for talking about you, it's like, oh man, this ain't 20 years ago, bro. That's not true. I looked at my podcast numbers for the week before, the week before that, and then the week he said something and the week after. All the numbers are the same. I didn't even get any bump, any little 10% spike.
A Stern bump.
There's nothing. It doesn't exist. He has people, his listenership doesn't even know how to access a podcast.
Because his listenership knows about you already.
A lot of them do.
Yeah.
That's why some of them call and be like, I think you're wrong about this podcast, man. I listen to your show, then I immediately go listen to Bill Burr's podcast, then I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, then I listen to some podcast, some comedian no one's ever heard because he's small.
Yeah.
Because I live in, Winnipeg, and there's a local Winnipeg podcast I like. He goes, they're like, we all think this is good. You're the only one saying these aren't all valid. Because he's also real self-absorbed.
You think?
Yeah. So he's like, anything that's not me is negative. Where it's like, okay.
Yeah. I'm old. I'm so old. I remember when he was the nerdy-looking Howard Stern before he got the perm.
I remember I'm pretty serious.
Yeah, he had the glasses and straight hair.
Yeah.
Short
Straight hair? I don't remember that. But I remember on WJFK in Baltimore.
Yeah. Oh, because that's where you're from.
Yeah. He would go there. He would report there for business. He didn't have a thing in New York. He was on every... whatever.
Anyway. Hey, you got to get out, go to a movie to see some acting.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to see Zoolander 2.
Oh, that's supposed to be excellent.
Is it?
No.
It's supposed to be bad?
It's supposed to be horrible.
Oh, no. Moshe helped write it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does he have a credit?
Probably writing credit.
Yeah, because it is like people who loved Zoolander
Hated it?
hate it.
Oh, no. Well, okay. We'll see.
At least they're not real actors, right?
Yeah.
So you can't
Really
look at them down. Like
if they're bad acting, it's like that's one thing.
that's what
If it's just like they're reading lines instead of acting, it's like, oh, well, that's whatever. I just like actors in general. It's like, you're not doing anything special. You're reading a line, you're doing believable. Yeah, you're just pretending. Relax.
Okay.
Every once in a while, somebody hits it really hard. We're like, wow, that was really good. But rarely.
All right, Ari. Thanks. It was great talking to
Thanks, Guy. Sorry if I went off on Stern.
you.
Gets me mad. All these
yeah.
old people that get me mad. They're like, it should be done our way. It's like, just get out of here. Fucking go retire. Just that's the problem. Just go retire. Your legacy will be safe if you retire. People like Leno now. People look at Leno like, oh yeah, Leno. But when he was still like in office, you know, when he like pushed Conan out and he was still, people like, fucking Leno, why won't he get the fuck out of here? He was annoying us with his irrelevance.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's gone, then his irrelevance doesn't matter. Stern is annoying people with his irrelevance. If he would just retire or start a new like old man show, you know, like this is all about chess and my wife that tells me what to say and think.
Well, I'm hoping for the Stern bump from this. Thanks.
You can tag it maybe.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
A good one, right? Lots to think about. Lots to chew over there with Ari Shaffir. He had a great set at the Comedy Mix when I went down on the Thursday. I'm sure the rest of the weekend was fantastic too. Next time he's in town or wherever you're listening from, if he's in your town, go see him. Very funny. Got a good head on his shoulders, I'd say. And that's it. So keep on doing what you're doing now. Go back to it. And tune in next time to What's So Funny. Thanks for listening. Good night.